Good morning, class. Dr. Duncan here, stopping by to just greet you, allow you the opportunity to put a face with the person behind the computer, corresponding via email, submitting your grades, who you're submitting your grades to. Welcome to the class. I know we got start off a little rough with Hurricane Matthew and all. I am still praying for all of those who were affected by the hurricane, which we did, and unfortunately have a couple of students that were displaced. So I'm definitely praying for you and here to still work with any students that's dealing with that. A little bit about me. I wanted to come on, give you an introduction. Some of you may not have had class with me, let you know how I operate, how this class operates, and then just do a brief introduction as we're moving on to Module 2, Law Enforcement Organization. So a little bit about me. I've been here at FTCC 7 years now. I teach in our Criminal Justice Department at our Spring Lake campus, our main campus, as well as online. Extremely passionate about the field. My background does not lie in actually working the beat, so I've never been a police officer. However, I have worked in the state's attorney's office, the public defender's office, and I've worked in DC on the Hill, Capitol Hill, where legislation is drafted. My teaching is probably a little different than you're used to. I definitely believe in this is a learning journey. We're on this together. I am a facilitator in this journey. I know this is an online class, but I still try to bring life to the class. I try to get some personal interaction with the class. So I do come on and conduct video lectures like what I'm doing now. I'll do announcements. I have a Periscope account where I will go live, although I haven't gone live lately, but I go live in the evening to offer like evening office hours. We have chat, Skype, anything I can do to reach you, to reach and contact me, because I understand taking an online class, the majority of you are probably working during the day. Therefore, when you're sending me an email and maybe when you get off work, when I respond, I'm at work and you're back at work. So this is like that round and round we go. So I try to accommodate that by offering evening office hours and evening chat sessions. So definitely feel free to reach out to me on any of those sources. When I am doing a video lecture, I do not try to present this perfect polished video. I get it in the raw. So while I am conducting this lecture, my telephone may ring, someone may come into my office. I have my door closed, but you may hear a knock on the door. I may stumble or stutter over words, and I just keep going with the flow. My theory is if we were in class and these things happen, I can't retract it, so I'm not going to retract this and re-record and make it seem like everything is perfect. That's just not how I roll. So I just wanted to give you a little update around that. So a couple things. We've gotten started. So you know this is an 8-week class, totally online. The modules open now. I haven't opened all of them. I just wanted to get us used to how the format is in the class. But I will open all of the modules. You will be free to work ahead if you would like. However, I will not grade those modules until the class is on that assignment. So probably this week or the end of this week, I'll go ahead and open up the remaining modules so you can work ahead if you would like. Couple things. Please, please, please fill in the blank questions. Listen very carefully because someone will still email me. All fill in the blank questions will be reviewed, regardless if it is on a quiz, if it's on a test, if it's on an assignment. Fill in the blank answers will be reviewed because Blackboard will automatically deduct the points if it's not, for capitalization, spacing, anything like that. Like if the answer is the U.S. Patriot Act and you put the United States Patriot Act, it's a computer. It doesn't recognize that it's the same thing. If you have a misspelling, it will mark it wrong. However, rest assured that I will go in and I try to do it collectively. So I like to do it like when I have a couple of them to sit down and go. So I won't necessarily do it at the end of module 1, module 2. I may do it at the end of module 3 and go in and look at all the review questions from modules 1 through 3. So do not worry. You do not have to email me. I will check all fill in the blank questions, and trust me, if you will see fill in the blank questions and you may get something wrong just because of spelling or just because of spacing. Do not worry. So now that we got that out, remember with your modules, once they open, they run for a week. They're open Monday to Monday typically. Make sure you have everything completed within that time. I understand what adults, we have life. Life happens. I am here, communicate with me, and I am here to work with you. I have due dates, but I understand if something comes up. Now, you failing to communicate with me could potentially be detrimental to your grade, because I don't know what's going on. If I'm reaching out to you and you're not responding, and I'm just like, okay, you haven't done this work, we're going to have a lack of communication, which definitely could be detrimental. So definitely take the time to shoot me an email or call me and let me know what's going on in your life, because I totally get it. I'm a mother, I have children, I have extracurricular activities, I'm very involved in the community, I like research, I get it. So I'm not here like, this is due by this date, you better have it done or then you can never turn it in. No, that's not it. So I'm here to work with you. Alright, so a few introductions. Let's go ahead and get into chapter 2. Chapter 1, you wrapped up laying down pretty much the foundation. I'm in your book. Let me hold your book in case you don't have it. We have the custom introduction book to criminal justice. Yes, you do need your book for this class, so yes, you need it. You have your video quizzes that you take. The video quizzes are also right there prior to answering the question. So, but yes, you do need it. So chapter 1 actually went into outline the criminal justice system, talked about the wedding cake model. Now we're going to talk into the police organization. In this chapter, we are going to look at the evolution of policing. How did we get to where we are today? You're going to talk about some of those pioneers, Sir Robert Peel, the Bobbies from England. We're going to go through the political era, the professional era, what are the differences between that. One thing I would like to highlight and I want to spend a little time on is when we talk about law enforcement. I have interesting trivia that I would like you to look up. In the United States here, we actually only have two, by virtue of our Constitution, 2 law enforcement officers. 2. What are our 2 law enforcement? Who or what? Who are our 2 law enforcement officers? By virtue of our North Carolina, our state constitution, there's only 1 law enforcement agency. 1 law enforcement agency. And what is that? That's pretty interesting when you research that. A lot of people do not realize that. So again, the questions are, you're looking at, according to our United States Constitution, the law of the land, there are only 2 law enforcement officers. What are those 2 law enforcement officers, or who are they? Then I want you to go ahead and look at the North Carolina, the state we're in. Look at our Constitution, look that up and see who is the only law enforcement officers and according to our Constitution. And so what does that mean? I'm going to bring that question back to us to talk about and have a little discussion on it. Just interesting trivia for you to go in and look. So I would like you to look those 2 things up. I'm going to be ready to discuss that. I'll bring it back to us a little later. We can do it via discussion board. So in law enforcement, and I will use the word law enforcement. Once you do some research, you may say, well, we shouldn't technically be using that word, but code officers or law enforcement within the criminal justice arena. The book outlines like 5 components. You can really clunk them or break them down or combine them into 3. Talking about 3 components of our criminal justice system. You have the courts, the corrections, and then law enforcement. Now the book expands it to 2 additional, but you can see how you can break those down or actually include those in 3. Under law enforcement, you have the federal, the state, and local. Federal, state, and local are the different entities. Under federal, you have the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice, and who's over the Department of Justice? The person who is in charge of everything over the Department of Justice, the Attorney General. Loretta Lynch is our current Attorney General. So underneath that is where you're going to find the different federal law enforcement. You have the FBI. And look on chapter 2, 32. Look on page 32. And so I'm looking at that chart there. You have the FBI, you have the DEA that you can see that's right there, that falls underneath the Department of Justice. So looking at those different entities and where they fall and who's in charge of what, that actually outlines that leadership for you. Under the FBI, learning that the FBI was not there since the conception, and who's responsible for actually putting the FBI into effect, which president established the FBI. And then J. Edgar Hoover, of course, was the first FBI director. In that, you're going to talk about other federal agencies, you talk about the U.S. Marshals, the CIA. I like to say the federal, any three-letter law enforcement, right? That's what I say, the three-letter, those are your federal. Looking at understanding which and what they're responsible. So what is the CIA responsible for? One interesting one that a lot of people are not aware of that I want you to look at and you would become is the INTOL. And that is on, I just know it and I don't know what page it's on for you, but INTOL, what page is it? I want you to look up that and understand who they are and what jurisdiction they have and what can they actually cover and do. Okay, that's on page 31. So look up Interpol. I think I left out the R. INTERPOL, Interpol. And a lot of us are not aware of what they do in their jurisdiction. So that's another agency, law enforcement, that we often overlook, talking about what they do. So with that, and in this chapter, you're going to talk about how where our structure came from, why it was outlined the way it is, and the purpose and jurisdiction of our law enforcement. So you have your video quiz you would do, and you have a discussion board that you would do as well. Make sure to try to get everything. Make sure when you have a discussion board to respond to your classmates. I'll come back on again as we wrap up and go a little bit more in detail, but I just wanted to give you that introduction. Looking over here, looking at the book. Make sure you look at those review questions at the end, just to help you make sure that you grasp this chapter on page 44, looking at those review questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop by the office, or you can shoot me an email or give me a call. So I will talk to everyone soon. Have a great week.